Hello, everyone. God bless you, and I hope everybody's doing well. So, the Lord brought to my attention uh, kind of a remembrance the other day about all these people that say they're not human. And you might have seen this in headlines. The Queen Elizabeth said that she wasn't human. It made a headline in some newspaper a while back. It was since removed very quickly. I found a little snippet of it. Um, you have Mark Zuckerberg, who said, in a slip up in an interview, said, "Well, when I was human." You have all these people, and you got Lil Wayne, "I am not a human being." All these different things going on, and I got to thinking about that, and uh, it seems like everybody is trying to find a niche or a path or a um, a direction or the truth, but everybody's bypassing Christ and going to so many scattered different places that it's like insanity. You have um, you have Buddhism. You have all. Of course, we know the religion, so let's just get that out of the way. Then, of course, you have transhumanism. Then, of course, you have um, New Age practices, and then you have like people that are combining some of the words of God into New Age practice. You have the whole alien UFOs. You have all this garbage, and I was just thinking about it, and I was just like, where does this chaos or this thought process come from? That they're so looking for so many answers, but so many people are so scatterbrained on what truth is, and you try to tell and you try to talk to people about what truth is, and it's like, yeah, I know about Jesus. It's just like really quickly brushed off or whatever, and they go, well, yeah, I really think this is the way or the answer or whatever, and it's exhausting. Um, so many people have thought of these people that are kind of like this, and the Queen, and people just kind of shrug it off. They're like, oh yeah, whatever. It's just I'm wondering what is going on. That was my initial thought. Um, and then I remember the Lord telling me always, always, always pray, teach us how to pray on earth as it is in heaven. And I'm a firm believer that what happened in the past and how we acted, how we were in the past is manifesting right before our eyes. And that's the point of today's study. Okay. I was going to title this just Identity Crisis. And the Lord just brought to my attention, He's like, identity crisis, identity in Christ is what it is. That's the answer. Okay. But everyone's going through this identity crisis. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So we start to explore this. We're going to go Genesis 1:1 right off the gate. And you have to understand this concept. And that concept is on earth as it is in heaven. Simple, but astonishing if you pertain this saying, this phrase, to many things in the aspect of your life. In many ways, you will start to see much more with just that phrase in mind. Okay, so in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Many of us has heard that there's a gap theory because God didn't create the earth without form and make it void. So something happened in verse 1. What happened in verse 1? And then what happened in verse 2? So along with the heavens, also the angels, the spirits of God, the light, all right, the way, the word, the truth, the life, Jesus Christ, the image of God, at that point had not yet come forth. Based upon what I've read and studied here in this verse, we have spirits, and they're not really knowing their identity. So it's hard to take a lot from just this verse in the Bible and say this is what happened. This is a very big conjecture. So some of the stuff I'm going to be telling you is conjecture. However, it's based on documents and the Word of God. So apply it as you see fit. Okay, so when God created the heavens and the earth, that included the angelic hosts. Okay. Some say, and I tend to agree with this, is they did not know that they were created. They did not know the Father as the Father. They were without wisdom. Some say this was for many years. Some say thousands of years. They sat in almost like a silence, not knowing what their purpose, who they were, that they were even created, who made them. And things began to stir. That's one conjecture. Another was it wasn't for thousands of years. It was more of a short time frame. Either way, all right, what we know is this. In his book, Zen Garcia shows that this time is a time of uncertainty. My question to you is right now, are we seeing this uncertainty here on earth? Are many confused, uncertain, wanting to know more about who they are and where they come from? That's always the big question, right? Who are we? Where do we come from? It's during this time that Satan laid the foundations of lies for his future rebellion, I believe. The Bible in Ezekiel and Isaiah speaks of Satan as the firstborn of an adorned creation, and he was, like, without a doubt, like the cream of the crop. Would he have used this as a position for influence? As part of that influence, did Satan claim to be God? Did he make promises to his followers? Is he doing that now? So let's recap just real quick. In the beginning, God created the heaven, the host of heaven, everything goes within heaven, and the earth. Okay? So you have angels not knowing anything at this point. Who they are, where they come from, anything. And there's this uncertainty. Who are we? Where do we come from? Who's the Father? Who's the light? This light had not come forth yet. Okay? Taking this a step at a time. Light had not come forth. So we have this now on earth. You have this, and we're going to get into darkness here in a minute, but you have this obscurity in the mind of people are searching, they're scurrying all about, they're on the internet, surfing this, surfing that. Some don't care, some do care about who they are and what they are and where they come from. And again, you point to Jesus and it's like, yeah, I got it. Thank you. All right. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. This is day 1. Consider the book of B. And you can Google the book of B and figure out all about the book of B. When the holy angels were created in the evening on the first day, without voice, they understood not their creation, but thought within themselves that they were self-existent beings and not made. Gospel of Bartholomew. For indeed I was formed, this is Satan talking to Bartholomew, who is basically with Jesus's authority, asking him questions. Kind of like an interview. It's kind of neat. It's a very good read. For indeed I was formed and called the first angel, for God made the heavens. He took a handful of fire and formed me first. Michael, second. And here are these sentences. For he had the sun before the heavens and the earth were formed. For when he thought to create all things, the Son spoke a word, so that we were all created by the will of the Son and the consent of the Father. He formed, I say, me first. Next, Michael, chief captain, and all the host above, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Nathaniel, and all the other angels. So I just did that to validate angels here, okay? And he was the firstborn. Now we're getting into the darkness. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. As we can see in these first few passages in the Bible, they're difficult to understand. The tools we have are the concordance, additional texts, and what's happening right now in our present day. As believers and children, let's speculate and reason as to what's going on here. The earth. Going to talk about the earth for a second. The earth is always a place for growing, learning, training. If you look at the parables in the Bible, all right, you look at the wheat and the tares, the wicked tenants, the parable of the seed and the sower, the seeds on dry ground, fertile soil, stony ground, choked out by uh, thorns and thistles. All right, it's always a place of growth, okay? Learning, training, okay? And those parables support all that. You put seed, all right? The word of God is a seed, all right, into the earth to watch it grow and manifest and produce fruit in that person, right? It's the same thing here. The earth was without form and void. So what I'm saying here is this earth was a place of growth, learning and training. Okay? The earth had been hijacked. If you look at the wicked tenants, essentially it's been hijacked by the wicked. Today we see that, okay? But there's still a balance, although it's becoming way out of whack, of good and evil. So that people can wake to their eternal destiny with Jesus Christ. So was this earth then still the same? All right. So if we continue with the earth had become without form and void. So the intentions of the earth for the purpose of learning, growing, and seeking had become empty, confused, desert, worthless, emptiness, chaotic, waste. So it had become this way. So something happened, and some say it was the war, and I'm not going to argue with that. It may be. I'll get to where I think the war actually occurs. But what I think is going on here is you have these created beings. They don't know who they are. They believe they're self-existent. They are searching for answers. You have the firstborn who's different from all the rest. So gradually I would think some of those would gravitate to him and his charisma, right? Are we seeing the same thing today? Think today. What's going on today in the world? It's becoming this way very soon, right? Because it's been hijacked by the wicked. So the earth had become without form and void. So the intentions of the earth for the purpose of learning, growing, and seeking, finding God, Christ, had become empty, confused, and desert, worthless, empty, chaotic, and a waste. Again, light has not come forth yet. However, we do have a time period of stirring, strife, and division. So at this time, my question would be, had Satan at this time filled the myriads of angels with lies, false claims? Were others latching on to what he was saying? There's a lot to foundations and stars falling with this little phrase right here, latching on. What were they latching on to as truth? The lies? Do we see this happening now? What are people latching on to now? We just discussed it. Darkness was on the face of the deep. Darkness is misery, destruction, ignorance, sorrow, which further means to hide, to grow dim, to hide and conceal, obscure, confuse. Again, this is manifesting on the earth. The word deep means a few things. It means to make an uproar, a tumult, great agitation, a surging mass of water. The waters I have showed in other videos as nations or peoples. This is no different. But this is a mass of body of water, a mass grouping of water. As of right now, they're all one thing. Angels, right? They're all one big mushy pot of what's going on. Picture, I guess, a pot of soup of confusion and agitation, and yeah, you can kind of see it as if you look today, especially, right? Rulers of darkness. So I wonder if some came forth, this is Ephesians 6, as rulers of darkness and prevailed in stating, maybe they attempted to say that their way was the way. Follow us. Unknowing this tumult, latching onto anything and everything for truth, mirrored exactly in this day and age. Some believe in the Big Bang, some evolution, some aliens, some space brothers, nothingness. Every identity you can think of has been following up in some way, shape, or form. The war in heaven is brewing and stewing and percolating at this point. Then the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So this is all going on right now. The Spirit of God is moving upon the people. Some have taken hold of it and have figured it out and are running with it and are stirring in their mind. Some are thinking, wow, this COVID crap, what's going on? So everybody's stirring, and the Spirit of God is moving upon the face of the waters. Some are waking up, some are not. And also, this is Him taking all this stuff into effect of what's going on. Watching, measuring. Jesus and talks about measuring the temple, sizing things up. God's all about measuring and watching, weighing in the balances, contemplating over the waters and the peoples and the nations, deciding what to do. Some will say, well, God knows what to do. He does. All right, but this is consistent in the Bible, watching, measuring, and contemplating over the peoples. Measuring the temple, sizing it up, sizing up the nations, were their hearts, weighing their hearts. I thought this was interesting. The word for waters here is mayim, which she's in the Bang Bang Theory. I don't know if it means anything, but I thought it was pretty interesting. So all these angels in this soup, right? But he that hates his brother is in darkness. So I wonder what's going on here, right? Arguments, strife, contention. Are we seeing that in the streets right now? Are we seeing brother against brother? Your neighbor's your brother. Whether he's black, white, Hispanic, we're all in this together. We're all brothers. Doesn't matter. The darkness blinds, so he hates without cause. Walking in darkness. They do not understand. They walk in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Just like we talked about, right? The earth was made, but it became void. All right? Sounds like out of course to me, right? Empty, void. So something's going on. There's a soup of darkness and mixture of strife and envy and whatever else is going on in that very first verse. Genesis 1:1 and 2. Again, same thing here. Alternate paths to enlightenment. New Age, occult, alien, all that stuff. They're looking for all these things. Wants to be an alien. Wants to be with an alien. Mark Zuckerberg said, when I was human. I can play that real quick for you.
You kind of need to remind yourself that you need to focus and try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible. but it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But um, but I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
So yeah, this came out in a newspaper in England. They took it down right away. I don't know what happened, but there's videos on this. You can look, you can research it yourself. This guy Richard Seed says, "We will become God. If you don't want to contribute, you don't have to. But if you get in my way, we will have warfare." Let me play that real quick.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, you're going to have big trouble. And we'll have warfare. The only way you can prevent me in this 50-year is to kill me. If you kill me, I'll kill you.
Kill me, I'll kill you. Again, the whole pot. Becoming without form and void. I am not a human being. I'm going to get in my spaceship and leave Earth. Then enters Let There Be Light. All this is going on, folks. All this soup of strife, envy, darkness, hatred, whatever it is, whatever was going on. Again, we're assuming, but we're assuming in an educated way, okay? Right here. They understood not their creation, thought within themselves that they were self-existent. All this stuff right here, without form and void. It became without form and void. A place of learning and growing became without form and void. And during all this, in the midst of this contention and hatred and anger and strife and lies, walks the light. And I always think of this verse here when I see, "Let there be light, whereupon the foundations were fastened." Remember we saw in the darkness, where was it up here, that the foundations had been compromised? What was the word? The foundations of earth are out of course because they walk on in darkness. Psalms 82, very famous Psalms. They walk in darkness, and in walks the light, whereupon the foundations were fastened. Who laid the cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. The answer was there, right there. Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God divided. War. That's the war. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was a place for him found any more in heaven. The God of this world, Satan, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the gospel of the glorious of Christ, who is the image of God, let there be light, and the image of God came forth, should shine into them. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of the darkness, hath shined in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge. What were they seeking? Everything but Christ, right? They were seeking everything but Christ, like today, seeking answers everywhere. Hath shined in their hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Very important verse. And of course, with God divided, we have this. Think not that I came to send peace on earth, but I came to send, not to send peace, but a sword. people will have to choose sides. Job, you were there. Remember, we are all a part of this, now and then. Remember the things of old. For I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there's none like me. I declare the end from the beginning, from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done. Wow, does that ring true now? If we just talked about this, ancient, that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do my pleasure. This counsel could be his holy angels, right? Remember the former things of old. I am God, and there is none else. So you take that with Job. Remember the former things of old. The conversation in Job 38, 39, and 40 with God is all about questions. Where were you? Remember. Were you there? Did you know? Declare. Remember. Everything that happened then is playing out right now in our lives. Where were you? Remember, Job. Remember, Job. Where were you? Remember the former things of old, when I laid the foundations of the earth, and all the morning stars sang, shouted for joy. All those questions the Lord's asking Job is trying to prompt him back to this. Remember, think back. God bless you guys. Take care. Love you all.